Hey guys, it's Luke again, and welcome back to yet for an for I can't talk today for video number 3 of what makes Ninjago so good, and we're on reason number 10. And yes, there won't be any pens or my feet in this video because apparently people have had a problem with that, even though it's not really that big of a deal. But anyway. Today's video is going to be about realism, or handling controversial topics. That's my number 10 reason. Why? Well, let's be honest here. A lot of these new, modern, supposed kids shows have a lot of, they have a lot of episodes dealing with touchy subjects. This concept is not new, however. This thing has been done since the 90s, the 80s to 90s. So it's not a new concept. Some of the most famous children's shows in history have done stuff like this. Hell, Sesame Street, which I think is like the greatest kid show to ever exist, is basically an embodiment of that. Like, it had shows dealing with autism, death, divorce, parents in jail, and among other things. There was even one about fires, where Elmo had to go to the firefighter. I think he went there twice, actually. But back to on topic. There have been a number of scenes, and even a couple of episodes dedicated to some subjects that a lot of people would consider to be too heavy for a show that's supposed to be served towards children. So I'll cover some of the examples. If I've missed any, please let me know in the comments down below. But to me, the most famous one is obviously Home. That entire episode is just, or at least the scene where Zane pretty much gets bullied on for supposedly running the ninja astray, and then all of a sudden, oh no, their monastery catches on fire and burns down. And they get all angry at Zane about it because they always said, if you didn't do this, none of this would have happened. And they pretty much bullied him, which, it's pretty much bullying at that point. So this was a really good idea of how to tackle on bullying when, it's because a lot of bullying can come from just a simple misunderstanding. And that's pretty sad, to be honest. But luckily, Zane wasn't too affected by this and forgave them later, because it would have been harder for me to forgive them if they called me those things. But because later, and then speaking of Zane, we have TikTok, which is probably one of the best episodes in the entire show, still revered by many, many thousands of Ninjago fans, even to this day. And this episode, we know that Zane is a robot, but there's some, to me, that episode is basically how to handle other people's differences. That just because you're different doesn't make you any less important, and that you're still valid no matter what. Just because you're black or you're gay or you're Indian or you're trans, it doesn't matter what you have. Hell, just because I have autism does not make me a lesser person. I'm still equal to each and every one of you. And that's a really good message. And then we've had, if Ninjago has touched on death and loss, with the most obvious one, Zane's death, which most of us we cried as little children. We cried as little children. Tell me in the comments if you actually cried during that scene if you were a child. Because probably you would be crying at it now since you were grown up. But tell me in the comments. Did you do you did you cry during that scene? And that was obviously hard for us, considering Zane was something more to us at that time. That's what I like about a lot of these fictional characters, is that they can become something even greater than what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be fictional, not real, but they feel real to us. They feel just as real as a friend or a family member, and when they're gone, the pain is pretty much the same. That's why it was so heartfelt. And that, we got to see somewhat like a funeral on screen, which, I've never been to a funeral, but I know some people who are subscribed to me and who comment on my videos have. I know there are some of them who have been to funerals and know how it's like. So, but there have been times where Ninjago kind of messed up when tackling real life subjects. Although this is albeit one occasion, and that is the topic of feminism or sex feminism. And that was the really bad premiere of season 6, Infamous. It was just straight up offensive. And they pretty much made Dareth such a misogynistic piece of crap that he was very, very unlikable. He was just straight up unlikable. And I think this is the only time where Ninjago actually incorrectly handled a serious topic. This could have gotten the show canceled if this was a year later, when the whole Me Too movement was actually in rise. Believe this or not, I actually saw feminists get angry at the show, not because of this, but because of the Cole joke made about, why boats are named after women. Which she talked about it 3 years after Skybound came out. So obviously you're just out of date. You're out of touch. So that was in 2016. And I'm just not going to even dive on it. And the only other time I think they botched it is Independence. But more specifically, Nia's Independence. Because Nia, I get it. She wants to be an independent person. But the way it's being written, in my opinion, I think they've been botching it for quite a long time. They kind of tried to write her independence, but at the expense of her personality and her character. They give her independence, but make her more unlikable at the same time, which is kind of unfortunate, since I do think she needs independence, but she still needs to be likable nonetheless. I'm trying to think of some more. There's also been, I go back to the whole death and loss thing. We had Cole and his mom, where he literally sees his dying mother on her deathbed, which, that's just sad as a whole. It's talked about all these topics. My friend GCN actually made a video of why Ninjago actually does a good job at tackling disabilities, and how a specific episode from his favorite season, Possession, actually does it really, really well. I will link that video in the description below, because I think it's a really good video. And you all should check it out too. So, and speaking of his video, if you don't want to watch that video because you're lazy, I'll basically sum up what he said. So in that episode, Peekaboo, Cole is basically depressed and out of his... He's so depressed. And to him, this is similar of someone who's been told that they have a mental disorder, like ADHD, or, in my case, autism. They feel so sad about it, but it proves that it could do something. It's the same thing with Zayn and TikTok. Just because you're different doesn't make you a lesser person. It can make you into because I am equal to the same as you. All right. And I think another one, even though this has not been confirmed yet, there have been hints, sort of LGBTQ in Ninjago, even though that has not been confirmed by Tommy or the writers, because a lot of fans do want something LGBTQ related in Ninjago, since a lot of these newer shows have been kind of putting them in more. Steven Universe, Owl House, so they want like an LGBTQ character, and they're tired of the whole love at first sight crap, which, let's be honest, they have a point. But if I wanted to give my honest opinion about this, if they were to add a LGBTQ character, it's not going to be a ninja. It isn't. It's probably going to be just a random side character like Vanya, which they could have done easily with Vanya, who we'll probably never see again. I'm just being honest here. And hopefully they add something like this in the future. But speaking of that, there has been a theory that the entire Royal Blacksmiths episode is an allegory to someone coming out as LGBTQ plus. Because of the way the dialogue is phrased, it says, "I know this may sound hard, but I'm proud of who I am," and that Lou is supposedly a homophobic parent who eventually goes over his homophobic ways. So yeah, Ninjago has dealt with a lot of sensitive topics that would be kind of difficult to cover, but I think it's handled them mostly well, with the exception of maybe a few botches here and there, but nothing too significant of a botch to the point where it could end up as a straight up cancellation. But what do you guys think? Do you think that Ninjago's handling of controversial topics as autism and death and loss were handled pretty well? And like I said in the beginning of the video, do you have any more? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Give it a thumbs up. Sorry, this was number 10. Number 10, see. Hope you guys like this video. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel by clicking on that red subscribe button. And click on the notification bell to see every video that I upload. And stay tuned for tomorrow for reason number 9. Yeah, switch hands. Number 9 of why I think Ninjago is just that good. So, stay tuned, guys. See you next time.